What's going on, guys? I'm Mike, I'm a photographer and videographer, and today I'm going to talk about what aperture, shutter speed and ISO is. So if you're into photography, you've probably heard of aperture, shutter speed and ISO, but maybe you don't know what they actually are or what they do. So I thought it'd be quite cool to make this quick little video just to explain what they are. So let's start with aperture. So simply put, inside every camera lens there's a hole that opens and closes really quickly, which allows light into the camera, onto the sensor, which obviously produces the photo. Now the aperture is the measurement of how wide this hole opens. So really simple. Basically, the lower the aperture number is, so the lower the f number is, the wider that hole is going to open, which is obviously going to allow a lot more light into the camera. The higher that f number is, the smaller that hole is going to open, which is obviously going to let less light in. So depending on what camera you have, you might be able to go to a lower number. I know I shoot on, most of my lenses are f2.8, which allows me to shoot in a lot lower light conditions. So if I'm shooting in a church where there isn't much available light, or maybe in the evenings, it's really handy having that number that you can go down to, which is going to allow much more light into your camera, so it can handle low light a lot better. So that's aperture done. Now let's move on to shutter speed. So basically the shutter is inside the camera, which is in front of the sensor, and basically what it's made out of is two curtains. So when you take a picture, one opens, allows light onto the sensor, and then the other one closes to stop that process. Now the shutter speed is basically how fast that whole thing happens. The higher the shutter speed, the faster it is. The lower the shutter speed, the slower it is. Now what you want to remember when you're shooting with different shutter speeds, you want to look at what you're photographing. So if you want that really blurry blurriness like I've used with some of my car photography and motorbike photography, you want a slower shutter speed. But if you want it really pin sharp, and you want, maybe you're shooting some sports photography, you want that shutter speed higher. But obviously with the higher shutter speed comes low light, so you need more light to play with. If it's outside, then great, you might have a sunny day, so you have tons of light to work with. But if you're indoors and there's not much light, then you might want to tweak around with the aperture as well as the shutter speed. So yeah, that's shutter speed done. Now let's move on to ISO. So basically ISO is just the measurement of how sensitive that sensor is. So the higher the ISO, the more sensitive the sensor is to the light. The lower the ISO, the less sensitive it is. So when I'm shooting weddings and I'm in somewhere that's quite dark, I'll have that ISO up, because a lot of the time I don't want to reduce my shutter speed, because it's with people, it's with a moving subject, so I want them pin sharp, I don't want them blurry. So I'll adjust the ISO depending on how much light is available. But yeah, I hope that all made sense. It did in my head, so hopefully it came across. I know there's quite a lot to think about, but just with practice you'll get better at working with all three, and it will just allow you to produce better photos and not worry so much with different lighting conditions and how you can handle it. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Comment below if you had any questions on the stuff that I've just talked about, or maybe you can think of something that I haven't filmed yet and you want me to film. Yeah, comment below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers, guys.